A lot of women know other women whose husbands are having problems with self-gratification, mental affairs, social media affairs, and other things. It's sad that you women talk about these things. Some of you are living with this without telling anyone else. You know it. What should you do if you learn that your husband is having trouble with behavior that involves intimacy? Doug Weiss, who is married to Joanie L, is also at the center of the drama at Daystar right now. Most likely you know Heart to Heart Counseling Center as a place that says it can help people heal and rebuild their relationships, especially those who are having trouble with intimate addictions. The whole thing is run by psychologist Doug Weiss. A few women have been blogging and posting on sites for years about their bad experiences at the center, but their voices didn't really get heard because Doug always seemed to have this perfect public image. These women can finally tell their stories and be heard now that Daystar is in the news because of the scandal. Their voices are getting loud enough to be heard. Several women have said that one of the craziest things Doug Weiss did was make women whose husbands had cheated on them sign contracts about sexual intimacy. It looked like these contracts forced them to promise to be intimate with their husbands a certain number of times a week. But wait, things get worse. Let's say you're a woman whose husband cheated on her. You're already hurt, misled, and trying to put the pieces back together. Then you go to counseling to get some help or understanding, and they tell you to sign a contract promising to be physically intimate with your husband a certain number of times a week. Doug Weiss is said to have pushed women even more during these intense counseling meetings, telling them that they would lose their husbands if they didn't follow the plan. Think about being told that after everything you've been through. Don't forget that these are the same guys who lied, cheated, and sometimes even hurt these women. This method doesn't seem to help these women heal or rebuild trust. Instead, it seems to push them closer than they are ready to be. Also, some of these counseling meetings brought up even worse betrayals that the wives hadn't known about before. The Royce report told a story about a woman that really stuck with me. People thought she would get back to normal while she was still learning about all of her husband's deeds. As soon as the women found out that their husband's cheating or drug use was much worse than they thought, they were told to use a past polygraph as proof that there were no more lies. They were told that the slate had been wiped clean, so they had to start building trust and closeness right away, even if they weren't ready. Another woman said that during the pre-polygraph meeting, she learned horrible things about her husband's secret life. She also said that her psychologist gave her an assignment that she thought was a form of gaslighting. She told the therapist that she should write down 10 things she could have done differently to stop her husband from acting out his compulsions. She said, "It felt like getting hit in the face." As a guide for partners of intimacy addicts, Rios said she thinks that some of Heart to Heart's ways of rebuilding trust do more harm than good. There are intimacy contracts in the workbook that hurt partners a lot because they weren't ready to get close to their partner physically after finding out they had been betrayed for years, Rios said. "A lot of the things they did made me feel unsafe for my clients." Another woman gives more information about the songs for intimacy. She said that in the fall of 2029, the people who took part were told to do exercises every night for 1.5 to 2 hours. One of the songs said to say, "I desire you," over and over to your husband and back again. Each of you would say this over and over again, taking turns for a set amount of time. Then you would move on to the next chant. When you said this, you were supposed to look your attacker in the eyes. It's crazy to think that these women were asked to look their attackers in the eye and tell them something so private while they were still dealing with how hurt and betrayed they felt. It's like making someone smile even though they're hurt just so they can get better. I remember something Doug said in one of his many videos that makes me think of the look them in the eyes way. He always talks about how he used to look his ex-wife Lisa in the eyes when they were alone. She's a beautiful, sweet girl, and I can honestly say that after years of doing intimacy right, I am so attached to Lisa's big green eyes that it blows my mind. When I look into those eyes, I think I am going home tonight because I am hurt by her eyes. We look each other in the eyes when we're close. Her soul is close to mine. That story has a happy ending. Doug and Lisa got a divorce after being married for more than 30 years. Hence the question. If making eye contact and an emotional connecting is thought to fix relationships, then why did it work for him? One of the women I talked to went to Doug's heart-to-heart vacation with her husband in the fall of 2022. After Doug got divorced, but before he told everyone. He lied to her and said he was still married as if his marriage were a good model. Doug lied to her about being divorced, so she told him the truth. He blamed her and tried to make her believe that she was to blame for being upset. Like there's something wrong with her and the hurt she feels from being betrayed is what's making her angry, suggesting that she wouldn't be angry if she was just healed enough. Let's just call it what it is. A trick. He tried to tell her she was crazy for being upset about a lie that was true. That is such a sneaky move, and it really irritates me. When this woman went to him for help and healing, he lied to her and twisted the truth to make her question herself instead of being honest and responsible. When someone in a place of trust and authority, like a counselor, does something like this, I can't stand it. Not only is it wrong, it's also very bad for you. You're not helping anyone if you use someone else's pain and grief against them to hide your own. You're making things worse, and that's really unacceptable. Another thing a couple could in 2022, my husband and I went to a very expensive week-long intensive with Doug Weiss. I thought a bad commercial had ripped me off. It hurt so much, both personally and financially. Just 30 minutes after meeting us, Mr. Weiss gave both my husband and me serious psychological illnesses from the DSM. It was not at all formal. As someone who really wants to change and grow, I looked for the most knowledgeable person on the subject of my mental illness, which Doug Weiss identified within 30 minutes of meeting me. I saw the best doctor in that field in New York, and he or she told me I definitely did not have that personality problem. Getting together with Doug Weiss was really bad. I think he cheated us out of money, but he's sure that God is rewarding him with wealth for doing God's work. The first time we met him, he was rude, cocky, and brash. He had just written a book called Priest and Kings, or something similar, and he was sure that God had planned for him to be a great king of heaven. Doug Weiss has written insightful things that have helped people understand addiction. He himself has struggled with it. When we met with him, it seemed like the healing he still needed was happening in some way. He didn't look well enough to help us. He also seems to have a sense of how important he is. Watch this video to hear what Doug Weiss has to say about how wives should deal with their husbands who are addicted to closeness. You married the good guy when you got married. It's like, you know what? He said he was good. Maybe he was spiritual. Maybe he was religious. Maybe he was just clean. That's not my problem. Everything is okay. We're taking care of our kids together. He loves me a lot. He likes me a lot. Then, months, years, or even decades into your marriage, you find out that he's really into porn, strip clubs, or being with this or that type of person. Suddenly, your whole world is turned upside down completely. You had no idea. You didn't see an addiction coming. No matter what you do, learn about love addiction and your partner's problems, and get help. Also, I would say to get help before you approach someone. So, let's break down what Doug is saying because it's really confusing. He tells the wives of intimacy junkies to learn more and join support groups. His groups, of course, since this is what his office does for a living. Here's the question, though. Why does the wife who isn't guilty have to get help and do the work? Let's face it, the man is the one who was hooked. He lied, cheated, and broke trust. He should be the one going to therapy, support groups, or any other place that helps him fix things. Why is the wife being told to do things that could make her feel bad again, like go to therapy and jump through hoops? It's almost like telling her she's not good enough, or even worse, that she needs to change in order for the marriage to work. Let's also talk about those help groups. It's not okay to force women into these places, even if they might help some of them, especially if they're still dealing with the humiliation. Reliving the pain, hearing other horrible stories, or being pushed to understand their husband's addiction while sitting in a room or on the phone can make the trauma worse instead of better. The husband needs to do the work, go to therapy, deal with his problems, and show that he's serious about changing over time. The wife needs room, time to heal, and the freedom to choose what's best for her without being made to feel guilty or like she needs to help her husband get better. In the end, the man did something wrong. He needs to make his life better. People shouldn't make the wife feel like she has to carry the weight of his addiction because she's not the one who is addicted. It's not fair, it hurts people, and it's just plain wrong.